A very good morning and a warm welcome to all of you for today's study circle meeting. Today we have with us CN Vaze, who is a very seasoned faculty, and he will be guiding us on professional ethics. Professional ethics, I feel, is the very essence of our profession, and it's apt that we keep ourselves updated on the recent developments in the ethics. So before we start the meeting, I would request you all to please stand at attention for the ITI notice. Please keep standing for the national anthem. Thank you all. Before we start the session, I would like to make a few announcements. As most of you must be knowing, ICI is organizing a Glow Pack event at Gandhinagar in November. It is from 24th to 26th of November. Those of you who attended the Vakao last year, it is a similar event. It is said that Vakao is done every 4 years, so it's like a World Cup. And this is going to be like an IPL, which is going to be conducted every year from now on. And I think the president has already announced that the state from where the president will be there each year, that state will be hosting the event. So it's a great event where you can meet a lot of investors, a lot of business opportunities, a good place to network. It is a 3-day event being conducted at Gandhinagar this year. So I would request you all to go through the brochures. It is available on the ICI website. Also, I will be sharing the details in the WhatsApp groups shortly. We will also be giving some discount as an incentive to our JB Nagar members who want to go and attend the event. So details of the same will be shared shortly with you all. Those of you who are interested can drop a message to us or an email. We'll get back to you. And it is a great event. I think most of you should try and participate in it. As we go further, okay, one more thing, we are a strong study group with a membership of about 1,500 chartered accountants, and we are also trying to raise our membership. So we have asked all our past conveners and core group members to get more members to our study circle. See, Ankush Gupta ji is sitting here. He's already promised us 20 new members and he's already got us five this year. And five is already got enrolled here. I would also request you all to, approach your friends and acquaintances who would like to participate in the study circle. You can have them enrolled here. Thank you all. Now, getting back to our session for today on professional ethics. For introducing the speaker for today, I would like to invite Sri Ankush Gupta ji, who's our co-organizer.
Very good morning. First of all, it's a very good coincidence. 25th December 22, Vaze sir was here in our club, in our this for the same seminar, and I was the coordinator, and I had the privilege of introducing him. And today again he's here, and today again I have the privilege of introducing him. So it's a very good coincidence for me. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Purvi. And now coming to his introduction. Shri Chandrasekhar Narayan was director, ex-chairman of Jankalyan Sahkari Bank Limited, is a senior chartered accountant with more than 40 years of experience. He is a president of Maharashtra Seva Sangh Movement, a 84-year-old reputed organization, and also president of Sanskrit Bharatiya Konkan region. He has delivered lectures and written articles on Valmiki Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, and many other subjects. He is a regular speaker on taxation, banking, and code of ethics, or CS, for almost all the world. He is a recipient of many awards like Yoga Mitra Award from Yoga Vidya Niketan Vashi Navi Mumbai, Best Social Worker Award from Senior Citizen Association Mulund, Jal Dastur Award for the Best Feature in PCA Journal. Friends, with this small introduction, sir, I welcome you in our study circle, and I request everyone to welcome you with a huge round of applause. And sir, before handing you the forum, I request Mahesh ji and Jayesh bhai, Bhavesh bhai, to please one moment of as a token of love. Yes, sir, please.
So बस ये एरो आगे जाएगा ये पीछे जाएगा करके देखिए. Thank you.
Namaskar and good morning. I thought after yesterday's pressure, people will be enjoying the morning. but JB Nagar Study Circle, as it's reputed for its very hardcore sincerity, and I think you deserve compliments for completing the silver jubilee year, that is 25th year. This attendance shows the quality of the study circle. So I am very delighted to be here again. Actually, I must thank Jayesh Bhai Thakkar, who was instrumental again to have this lecture. Then, of course, your convener, Madam Purni Bhageria, my friend Ankush Gupta, who was kind enough to introduce me in very generous words, and Madam Vijayata Jaiswal, your convener team, and also all of you. I sincerely thank for this second in the series, because only in December I was here, and I think that part of my introduction was dropped, that I'm basically a man from theater, that is fine arts and culture. So I'm more connected with drama and music. And therefore, friends, if you get a once more, the artists are very happy. But this is not the case with me. I get a little frightened, I get a little scared when I get a once more. Because there was a singer who presented a song once, people gave once more, he again sang, again he gave one, people gave once more. That happened 10 times, so he was simply confused. He said, "Did you like this song so much?" He said, "No, we will give you once more until you sing properly." So I think that is the reason Jayesh Bhai called me again. Anyway, this topic, code of ethics, is gaining more and more importance, not because we honestly accept it as an important topic, but it has been made compulsory by CPE committee. So unless anything is made compulsory, we chartered accountants usually don't respect that. And so we always, our first question is, ye nahi karega to kya hoga? How do we circumvent it? Friends, our motto is Ya Esha Sukteshu Jagarti. That means he who is awake when the world around is asleep. We are supposed to be awake every time, every moment. When our clients are enjoying at the hill station, we are working round the clock to complete their compliances. That is the predicament that our profession has. And unfortunately, friends, last 25 years I have been in this practice. Now, for your information, I have surrendered my COP. But the situation is very bad, friends, really bad. It's frustrating. It is disappointing and depressing. No chartered accountant who is practicing I meet is happy with how our profession is going on. And my presentation is a journey into introspection. Why we have been in this situation, which is almost unenviable situation. Are we ourselves responsible for inviting this? The topic given to me is Code of Ethics case studies. I'll be sharing with you some recent cases because so far I had an occasion to handle about 400 disciplinary cases. So even if I shared with you just the glimpses of those cases, I think that will be enough for you to keep yourself awake. Because our attempt, sincere and continuous endeavor should be that we should be awake. Because the profession is very vulnerable. It has become so vulnerable that whatever you do, there is something unethical as far as the institute is concerned. The first case rather I always start with, is that in your profession, you should never ever do anything in good faith. Many people say, Mr. Vaze speaks same cases, same stories every year, every time. But then yes, certain stories are very important because they are eye-opening. Husband and wife both were CAs, both were practicing as proprietors. Wife did the audit of a small cooperative housing society with just 12 to 15 members, fetching a fee of hardly 400 rupees as per those standards. And after 3 years, husband did that audit. And in the 8th year, there was a divorce petition between the two. And the wife filed a complaint that husband took the audit without obtaining my NOC. So this is the situation of relationships in today's Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, no relationship is permanent. Nothing is permanent. Today, who are your very close friends, tomorrow what will happen, nobody knows, even God does not know. In fact, I have been writing in BCA journal for last 12 years in the form of Krishna and Arjuna. It's a very crisp 1.5 pager giving the principles of ethics, for which actually I was fortunate enough to receive the Jal Dastur award. Mr. Jal Dastur was a very senior chartered accountant and very upright person. The problem today in our profession is that there is a crisis of courage. We don't have courage at all. Our profession has become a spineless profession. We cannot stand erect anywhere. That is why in the profession I have actually decided that I will always represent, to defend a chartered accountant, and I will never ever represent a complainant. Because it is very easy to demolish a chartered accountant, because so much of regulation that even God will not be able to comply with all those regulations. And the same situation is there in the United States of America. There are articles being published that it is over-regulation, overburden without commensurate reward. So basically the creativity, whatever they claim in the profession, has already vanished. We have become the compliance people. And another bad thing about our profession is that the image which has been developed is that chartered accountants are the persons who manage everything. So even our CP hours also we manage. When I go outstation, especially for lectures, पहले जब मिलता है कन्वीनर्स को, सर excellent enrollment है 250, and the capacity of the hall is only 200. And then when actually in my front of me hardly 35 to 40 are present, and still everybody gets CP. So who is unethical, friends? One has to introspect. That if just 40 attend and if all 250 get CP hours, then who is unethical? The very foundation of our profession is shaky because there is no such thing as independence. It's a myth. I was just discussing outside with many of the members. It's a myth. There is no independence at all. And the image of the profession, I'm very sorry to state, is that there was one, means I think US consulate only, that visa checklist was there for visa, and there the last line was like this: please avoid bringing chartered accountant certificates as the same are often found unreliable. This is the image of the profession, friends. And therefore, I'm very sincerely requesting you to actually, the cases which I'll be sharing, there are some recent cases, so that in December, whatever you heard, there'll be something new. And they are really nightmarish cases. Another case of good faith I'll just share, and then we will, which I usually tell in the beginning always. There are 2 or 3 cases with which I usually start. Second was that A chartered accountant who was doing the tax audit of a proprietor, that proprietor's daughter comes to his office and says she wants the income tax return of her husband and mother-in-law attested by him. He was not filing those returns. So she had brought the hard copy. So from that he verified on the computer everything was proper and he gave a proper certificate. Proper certificate, when I'm saying it has a significance. We cannot say just true copy. We cannot say attested true copy or anything. Recently there is a decision of we cannot give a certificate of to whomsoever it may concern. We must be very specific. We cannot give a generalized certificate. It actually, because there are two things. One is the selfish aspect that if you give too generalized certificate, client can use it anywhere. If you are certifying the turnover for some export orders, if you are certifying the turnover for other compliance purposes or for a tender, everything has a different connotation, friends. So when you have to be very specific that my ये certificate इस purpose के लिए दे रहा हूँ for bank loan, because everything there could be some things that can change depending on the purpose for which the certificate is given. And therefore, you should be very specific and you should address the certificate to a particular person or to an authority. You cannot have a general certificate as to whomsoever it may concern. On that, some, I think WhatsApp पे वो case अभी घूम रहा है सभी जगह. So he gave a proper certificate. When I say proper certificate, it has this significance. And then within 1 month's time, that lady's husband filed a complaint saying that without my written permission, how did you part with my attested ITR to my wife? Because the wife had filed a case of domestic violence against him in the court of law. That is why I am repeatedly saying no relations are permanent. No relations are permanent. I have come across cases, father has filed a complaint against son, son has filed a complaint against father, brothers, sisters, close friends, all relationships I have covered now by this time. Last 25 years में हर एक relation में complete हो गया है. Partners है, directors है, strangers है, there are professional, can say blackmailers also in this. They just glance through your balance sheet, they just pick up from somewhere and anything they come across, they file a complaint and it's a purely blackmailing business. And therefore you have to be constantly awake. Your work is expected to be absolutely perfect, flawless. Whether it serves the purpose of the client or not is immaterial. If you have given a wrong certificate, wrong balance sheet, and still the client has, on that basis, the bank has advanced him loan was properly serviced, it was repaid, account is closed, still you cannot say कि मैंने जो wrong certificate दिया इससे किसी को harm नहीं हुआ. That you cannot say. Your certificate, your work should be perfect in itself. What repercussions it has on others is immaterial. People always argue कि किसी का नुकसान नहीं हुआ. अरे किसी का नुकसान नहीं. For example, charitable trust का you sign the balance sheet. Trust income is exempt. So revenue is not losing anything. But still if the income tax officer notices that there is some discrepancy in the accounts, he can still file a complaint. You cannot argue कि इससे whether it is the loss of revenue. All these cases I have actually handled, and that is why I am sharing with you, because if I start sharing the details of each and every case, the time will be over, and therefore I am just mentioning it as principles. So the more the respect you desire to have, the more the restrictions are on yourself. That is the discipline. So that the third case, and then I will go to the current cases. The third case, friends, again, a private limited company, a 75-year-old reputed firm, a private limited company with only 2 shareholders and directors, elder brother 60%, younger brothers 40%, and that audit is being handled by this firm for last 25 years. And on 30th September is the last date. So on 26th September, the younger director comes to the office of the chartered accountant and he says, सर जैसा हम एवरी ईयर करते हैं, you just give me the hard copy, put your signature. I'll obtain my brother's signature because he is very busy, or both of us are flying to UK, so he's busy with his visa and other things. I'll obtain his signature and we'll file the return. Fair enough, the chartered accountant in good faith put his signature. That younger brother took the hard copies away. He obtained his brother's signature, but he never put his own signature. And he filed the balance returns, and the complaint was immediately within 1 month. There were 2 grounds of complaint, and both are very eye-opening threats. One is that under the Companies Act, 2 directors have to sign, whereas here only 1 director had signed, so there is a default under the Companies Act. Therefore, that is a worse misconduct. Mind well, he has deliberately not put his own signature, obviously because he also had a friction with his brother. Any 2 persons come together for any commercial or professional activity, disputes are bound to arise. They are inevitable. Today or tomorrow, disputes are going to be there. I'll share another case of similar nature, but let me complete this story. And the second ground, again, now in this first thing, the first misconception with many people have is that दो director का signature हो गया तो काम खत्म, which is very wrong, friends. Under the Companies Act, subsection 3 of that section, earlier it was section 215, now I don't think which section is there. But first subsection says that the account should be first approved in the board meeting. Then second subsection says that they will authorize 2 or 3 of them to sign. And the third one is says that signature and the auditor's signature. So signing is secondary. What is most important is the approval in the board meeting. And friends, you only interested that we do practically everything for the client. Practically everything. We only finalize the accounts if it is a small concern. We only draft everything, auditor's report, director's report, MRL, notes on account, everything we do. Although we state in the audit report, management, it's the management's responsibility. Management को मालूम ही नहीं उनका क्या responsibility. They say everything is yours. You are doing it for yourself. Director का approach क्या है client का? हमें कुछ लेना देना नहीं accounting standards से standards on it. ये सब you are doing for yourself. Why should we pay for that? That is further thing. So we do everything, but we don't take one small confirmatory letter, make a stereotype letter that these accounts were approved in the board meeting held on such and such date. How many of us really obtain this kind of a certificate? Big zero. Because why I am telling this is that usually only 1 person from the client side interacts with us. See, there may be 4 directors, there will be 6 partners, only 1 interacts with us. And after a particular number of years, disputes are bound to arise between them, and then they just disown everything. Others, they say, ये हमारा जो आदमी था, he was interacting with the chartered accountant, उन्होंने क्या घपला किया, and क्या collusion हुआ उनका हमें मालूम नहीं. We were never shown any balance sheet. We were never called for any meeting. There is no attendance record, there are no minutes. That is the greatest drawback of us chartered accountants.
PT rates or the IT rates. No, I don't know what chartered accountant is.
Yes,
What
exactly.
you have done, no?
Exactly. So I will be coming to that particular aspect now. So one small letter, I think it is, in every lecture I mention this, that if at all the study circles or the branches have to do something really concrete for the profession, they should make such standard drafts for the facility of the members. 2 or 3 things we never do, and there are certain things for which I think we need to have a workshop rather than a lecture. Study circles or benches क्या करते हैं? Student seminar, 2000 students attended. अपने back they get a pat. 2000 students से. Absolutely useless and futile exercise. It should be a workshop. We are not doing anything for the training of our staff and our articles. Institute had organized, it is conducting a course on working paper management. and there are 4 or 5 lectures in the series about the code of ethics. Usually I am the faculty. These working papers, who is going to prepare working papers? Your staff. और हम क्या करते हैं, स्टाफ को नया आर्टिकल आया, किसी सीनियर के साथ कुछ तो भेज देते, चलो उस ऑडिट पे जाओ. उसको मालूम ही नहीं क्या ऑडिट है, व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज दैट क्लाइंट ऑडिट, परमानेंट रिकॉर्ड, फाइल वगैरह वगैरह, आज सब थियरी में हमने सुना है, बट देयर इज नो सच थिंग. And therefore, in that process, what happens is our staff is not well trained. They are not even given a concept as to why they are doing the audit, what should be the angle, what should be the approach of their audit, and how their theoretical or exam thing is related to the practical work. This aspect we never explain to them. So they say exam is different, coaching class is different, and your work is different. We are not able to link the theoretical knowledge with the practical knowledge, and that responsibility is actually on us. And therefore, what is more important nowadays is workshops really that could be having intensive and focused. So that is the first thing, that we can prepare some standard drafts. There are many things which I'll be, in the course of my presentation, I'll be sharing. And secondly, we never do anything collectively. For example, whenever I go to the office or why, even in the urban area, bankers insist on certain things which a chartered accountant is not permitted to do. Like they say you certify the provisional balance sheet, they say you certify the projections. And a poor chartered accountant, especially upcountry, they say we are helpless, nahi to mera kaam jayega. And there actually their subsistence depends on these basic things, because in Mumbai we don't feel that much of gravity, but unke liye it's very important. And so they say, if I don't do, some other person does it. So the another drawback in our profession is that we are not united. Our collective action is not there at all. We just gather here in the study circle for fellowship, networking, and what we also say that too much academics we are having. ये इधर interpretation चाहिए, ये case law ऐसा चाहिए. But what we are doing together to exert, or rather to assert ourselves, that courage we are lacking because we are not united. Even bhajiwalas and auto rickshaw walas are more united, I always feel, and they are more organized. We are not. आज एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ने रिफ्यूज किया ऑडिट, तो दूसरे 10 लोग हैं. सो उसके लिए हम स्टडी सर्कल्स क्या करते हैं, ब्रांचेस क्या करते हैं कि कलेक्टिवली कुछ करना चाहिए, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट डज नॉट केयर फॉर यू एट ऑल. एंड इन आवर इलेक्शंस, ये अपना मारवाड़ी है, ये अपना मराठी है, ये गुज्जू भाई है, अपना कच्ची है. सो जो जनरल इलेक्शंस है, पॉलिटिकल इलेक्शंस, और अपना चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट इलेक्शन, उसमें कोई भेद नहीं है. तो हमारे लीडर क्या करेंगे? They are not capable of doing that, because we have never selected or elected persons who are capable, who are having strong academic base, who are having integrity, who cherish good moral values. ऐसा कभी हम मेरिट्स देखते हैं? तो जो मेरिट्स हम कैंडिडेट्स में नहीं देखते, वो बैलेंस शीट में भी नहीं देखते हैं. बैलेंस शीट में क्या है, वो ठोक देते हैं बाद में. Friends, that is why we are losing respect, we are losing credibility. People keep on crying, अरे क्या मजा नहीं रहा प्रोफेशन में, because that respect you have lost. You means I also lost. Because that is first aspect of what I said, 2 directors. So one simple letter, and another word of caution, or rather practical tip here, is that you should every year obtain signature of all directors or all partners or all trustees or all managing committee members on one hard copy, which you should retain as a master copy, so that at least the first stage of complaint is eliminated. That is, they say that we are not even aware of our balance sheet. At least that much you can protect. They have signed it, but we never do it. every lecture I say yes, you should obtain signatures of all committee members. And friends, in good faith, we do so many things. There is one very horrifying case. Normally, within 7 years, complaint should be filed within 7 years from the date of occurrence of the event complained. This is the normal rule, but which is not a blanket rule. It is not like time barring of income tax. There is a rider to it. It says that unless it is proved that document means production of documents is difficult or it is otherwise inconvenient to complete the proceedings. If this is the situation, only then that 7 years will apply. But if certain things are self-evident, there is no other evidence required, then this doesn't apply. This doesn't protect you. There was a lady who prepared a will. She died after 12 years after preparing the will. When the will was opened, a chartered accountant had signed as a witness, but that lady testator had not signed at all. Good faith. Balance sheet we sign and send it for their signature. Never ever do it. Never ever do it. Otherwise, the case which I shared with you. And second ground in that director's complaint was again an eye opener. Because we ourselves are not very particular about it, so there is no question of our staff being particular about it. He says that one of the cars of the company belongs to or is registered in the name of that elder director, elder brother, and the auditor has not made any comment on this. It does not belong to or it doesn't stand in the name of the company. तो अभी जो हम पहले तो हम सब सिर्फ टैक्स प्रैक्टिस ही करते थे, कंपनी लॉ वगैरह हम मानते ही नहीं थे. मेरी जो प्रीवियस जनरेशन है ना, उनको कंपनी लॉ से कोई लेना देना ही नहीं था. दे वर ऑलवेज इनटू बिकॉज कॉर्पोरेटाइजेशन वाज लास्ट 25 years ओनली इट स्टार्टेड. अदरवाइज उनके लिए सिर्फ इनकम टैक्स चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट के लिए, और जो इनकम टैक्स में है दैट इज द गॉस्पेल ट्रुथ. तो पीपल विल आर्ग्यू क्या हुआ, इनकम टैक्स में डिप्रिसिएशन मिलता है इवन इफ इट इज इन द नेम ऑफ द इंडिविजुअल डायरेक्टर, इंडिविजुअल पार्टनर. But friends, in income tax, what is focused is beneficial ownership. It is a user of that asset. Whereas in company law, when you are certifying the assets and liabilities of an entity, then it should be standing in the name of that entity. Otherwise, there should be some comment. There should be a resolution to that effect. All these things is there. So how many of us really are even bothered to verify the vehicles in whose name it is registered? And if we ourselves don't look at it, then how will our staff also verify that? Now, these are the things which have evolved. Okay, otherwise, I have not fallen from the heaven. मैं आपके जैसे ही practitioner हूँ, था. मैंने भी बहुत सारे blunders किए होंगे. I am not saying that, but because of these other cases which I am coming across, now I am becoming. So I lost my sleep for last 25 years. And मेरा एक sadistic pleasure ये है कि आपकी sleep एटलीस्ट एक नाइट के लिए मैं हराम करूँ. ये मेरा पर्पज है ये लेक्चर का. Now I am coming to the recent cases. Recent cases, then I also, there was a very recent case, not very recent, but Corona के पहले का है. Thank you. कि all these ethics वगैरह, people keep on shouting, ये हमारे ही ऊपर burden है. Doctor कुछ भी करता है, lawyer कुछ भी करता है, architect कुछ भी करता है, but only chartered accountants are burdened by this. See friends, grass is always greener on the other side of the pasture. So one thing is there, that very foundation of our profession is our credibility. And if we say that let the people behave properly, then only we will behave properly, otherwise zamana aisa hi hai, then we must remember that we are the intellectual leaders of the society. We cannot follow the society. We have to take the people with us. Tomorrow is Gandhi Jayanti. Tomorrow is also the birth anniversary of Shastriji. Now, Gandhiji was known, he was courageous enough to swim against the, Pravah against the stream. So if we are not providing leadership, intellectual leadership and moral leadership, then are we performing our task? Anyway, that's a philosophical discussion. I'll come back to the ground reality. Recently, there was now NFRA, NAFRA, जिससे उनको चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट प्रोफेशन के लिए काफी नफरत है, इसलिए उनका नाम नाफरा है, ऐसा शायद मुझे लगता है. Because they have picked up certain cases and now minimum penalty अभी कोई 5,000 10,000 पेनल्टी की बात ही नहीं करता है, लाख to crore. अंकुश भाई was sharing this with me. तो DHFL का मैटर है. Usually I never mention the case name, but actually this is in the public domain. So whatever is the public domain. Before that, there is one recent relationship. There was a girl, because she was having certificate of practice and she was connected or attached to a good reputed firm. And in the year 2007, because of her maternity, she just took this renewal of COP very lightly. She never renewed the COP. In the year 10-11, after 3 years after her delivery, her father and her uncle both were chartered accountants. Now, in uncle's case, his tax audit limit was crossed. It was exceeded 60 numbers, whatever was there applicable at that time, 45 perhaps. And so what the uncle did, उसने अपनी नीस के सिग्नेचर 10-12 टैक्स ऑडिट पे ठोक दिया. In the year 2012, immediately she received a notice from the institute. You are not holding COP and still you have signed. Because of this computerization, everything is very easy for them. In fact, I have come across cases where chartered accountants had signed 900 tax audits. I have come across two. One is 997 and one was 495. These cases had come to me. They were referred to me. And so, because of that now, अपने घराने की इज्जत बचाने के लिए, that poor girl, because she said now it doesn't make any difference for her because she is now not active in the profession. She doesn't have neither the practice nor any job anywhere. Otherwise, it's a criminal offense. It's a forgery. So, उसको बचाने के लिए, इज्जत बचाने के लिए, she has taken it on herself. So, these things are also another way, rather good aspect of the relationship. That the uncle took the advantage of that, but she did not expose him. That is also a positive aspect of relationship. We should always honor that and we should accept. This is the reality of life, friends. So, कहाँ से कहाँ आपके against profession में complaint आएगा? You cannot imagine, you cannot predict. Now, one more important aspect which I did not mention, or rather it skipped, was that वो 2 डायरेक्टर का केस था ना, उसमें you will ask कि अरे इतना रिलेशनशिप था उनका, ओल्ड रिलेशनशिप 25 years का, so why did he file the complaint on these petty things? First thing was that he had a friction with his brother. That was, but the true reason was this, that he had approached the firm about a few months ago with a request to accommodate his daughter as a dummy article, which the firm had refused. तो उसका खुन्नस निकालने के लिए उसने कंप्लेंट किया. That means you cannot antagonize anyone. कोई भी आता है और अपने अगेंस्ट कंप्लेंट कर सकता है, अपना आर्टिकल हो, अपना स्टाफ हो, अपना ब्रदर हो, अपना रिलेटिव हो, कोई भी. Who can complain? Anyone can complain because these proceedings are treated as quasi criminal proceedings. So anybody can complain. You can say what locus standi you are having, that you cannot question. आपका इस केस से क्या लेना देना है, you cannot question. See, everything is so negatively thrust on us that really it is just suffocating, friends. It's suffocating. And unless we are active in this, we are doing something collectively, situation is going to worsen. In fact, I should not say from this forum, but the future of this profession, अभी बाकी सब international conference वगैरह सब वो बड़ा कुछ भी होने दो. But in reality, we know what we are facing today. ये सब दिखावा अच्छा है, but in reality, and everybody would agree, ये सब मजा आता है. उधर 2 दिन ऐसा सेलिब्रेशन में जाता है, इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस, नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस, 5 स्टार होटल में. बट डे टू डे रियलिटी दैट वी आर फेसिंग इज दैट clients are expecting too much from us and we have not been able to say no at all. हम ना कभी किसी को बोल ही नहीं सकते. हम डॉक्टर को कभी नहीं बोलेंगे मेरे लिए तू आज क्लिनिक खोल. बट क्लाइंट विल टेल यू अरे मेरा एकदम अर्जेंट मैटर है, कल मैं बाहर जा रहा हूँ, तो आज संडे है, फिर भी आप ऑफिस में जरा मिलिए. The client can dictate on chartered accountants. This is the only profession where the clients expect that we should always initiate action. आपने बताया ही नहीं एडवांस टैक्स भरने का, आपने बताया ही नहीं रिटर्न फाइल करने. On social media, on the press, everywhere it is being announced by the government. Still they expect that you should take the initiative. And हम तो स्लेव्स हैं, रियली स्पीकिंग वी आर द स्लेव्स. हम जब प्रोफेशन में आए तो मुझे क्या पहले लगता था कि हम वी आर द ओन बॉसेस ऑफ आवरसेल्व्स. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. ऑल क्लाइंट्स आर आवर बॉसेस, ऑल आर्टिकल्स आर आवर बॉसेस. दे ओनली टेक आवर इंटरव्यू. आप क्या देंगे अभी. नाउ सी फ्रेंड्स, एंड व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज नॉट एन एग्जैजरेशन, बट the number of students enrolling for the CA profession has dwindled like anything. I'm told that it is now almost 40% of the original strength. That is why articles सभी दुर्लभ हो गए. People are not coming to this profession. People say अच्छा है ना, अभी आपको कंपटीशन नहीं है. अरे कंपटीशन नहीं, लेकिन जो हम कोप अप नहीं कर पाते हैं और उसके लिए फीस नहीं मिलता है. काम बहुत है, काम अनलिमिटेड है, but it's not remunerative. So friends, let me come to that DHFL episode. DHFL में actually all these years the thing which was happening was the company was appointing the statutory auditors, and then company also appointed, there were some 200 plus branches. Is anybody aware of this particular case or matter, or has, because then it is worth sharing with you. So branch auditors the company used to appoint, saying that in consultation with our statutory auditors, we are appointing you as our branch auditor for, and they were allotting 4 or 5 branches. Around 30 to 40 such auditors were appointed. The report was to be addressed to the statutory auditor. Now, after 1718, the DHFL itself, their Ghotala was exposed, and then NAFRA was awake. And then NAFRA examined all those cases. And all these charters who have been auditing, doing the branch audit for last 15 years, all of them were issued notices saying that you were appointed by the company, by the company's management, and you were earlier, if under the 1956 Act, this was permissible. But under 143(8) of 2013 Act. Remember, even the branch auditors are to be appointed in the AGM. How many of us are aware of this provision? I am not very sure. So they say that you are not appointed in the AGM because like earlier years, like 1956 Act, they continued like that. The branch auditors, maybe they were appointed only the statutory auditors.
नहीं आता आप बोलिए सर अच्छा आपने आगे नहीं किया ना
मेरी स्टोरी ही इतनी है कि ये सब नहीं नहीं यार थोड़ा हलचल दिखना चाहिए I don't need this basically because
But the slide should keep on moving.
so that people will be aware कि कुछ तो हिल रहा है
और कुछ भी हिलने वाला है.
So there are many things, but within this short period of 2 hours, I will read 4 or 5 hours basically. Anyway, so these many stories I am having. Now this particular DHFL episode I am just narrating in brief that they say your appointment itself is invalid because you have not been appointed in the AGM. Remember, the situation was changed in the 2013 Act, which hardly any of us would be. I was not aware. I don't claim that I was aware of everything. I was not aware. Because basically, friends, my background is not that of audit practice. Mine was basically tax litigation. So this, they say then we argued, if at all our appointment itself is invalid, then we are not statutory auditors, so NAPRA has no jurisdiction on us. So that was at the threshold itself, it would have gone. They say, without prejudice to this, आपके ये drawbacks है. That was the notice. And at least 10 persons had approached me for handling this particular matter with NAPRA. Now, there is a lot of litigation on this. There are writ petitions also filed. I'm just explaining to you what is happening in that. So 2017-18 was this situation. Another challenge to the NAFRA's jurisdiction was that they say the notification of appointing NAFRA was issued in November 18, whereas before that only all these audits were completed. So you have no jurisdiction on 17-18. That is another ground. So firstly, that if you say that we are not statutory auditors, then you have no jurisdiction on us. But secondly is this, and there are many other aspects which are being challenged there. Of course, NAPRA, all government authorities have become so one-sided that they are not regarding any means no respect for not even the courts that we know. Otherwise, they will change the law retrospectively and supersede whatever has been decided by the courts. So, because of this, they say that you have no jurisdiction. Secondly, and this is another eye-opener, they say you have not. Now, engagement letter, we have only heard of this concept. But we, as an average chartered accountant, hardly any one of us, if anybody is actually issuing it, we should be felicitated in the that no one is issuing engagement letter, and friends, standard on auditing SA 210 makes it mandatory that we should issue engagement letters. पहले तो जमाना ऐसा था कि हम अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर भी नहीं लेते थे जस्ट बिकॉज आरओसी को अपलोड करना पड़ता है इसलिए ना वी आर टेकिंग अदरवाइज अपने ऑडिट प्रोसीजर में ये सब है अपॉइंटमेंट लेना चाहिए वगैरह वी टेकन फॉर ग्रांटेड सो अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर अभी अपलोड करने के लिए हम लेते हैं दैट इज व्हाई आई सेड अनलेस समथिंग बिकम्स कंपल्सरी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स नेवर एक्ट ये एथिक्स वगैरह सब छोड़ दो दिस इज वन So then I wrote in my that BCA Krishna Arjun that engagement letter. तो सभी मेरे जो कलीग्स थे जर्नल कमेटी में वो एकदम अरे अच्छा हुआ आपने किया मैंने सब ऑफिस में सबको बुलाया और बोला अरे जो जो ऑडिट हमने किए है लास्ट ईयर और ये ईयर के एंगेजमेंट लेटर भेज दो उनको. Why it is significant that we must know the spirit behind it. What is the purpose of it? See, we write in the audit report that it is the management's responsibility to this, that first 2 paragraphs we spent on that. But is the management made aware that it is their responsibility? जैसे हमको मालूम ही नहीं है हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. हमने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट को अपॉइंट किया, अभी सब कुछ है वो उसका है. हमें किसी ने बताया नहीं कि हम अकाउंट्स को कंप्लीट करना ये हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. ये इनको बताया ही नहीं है किसने. हाउ कैन वी जस्ट राइट यूनिलैटरली कि ये उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. So this is one purpose. Secondly, there are many things which you can explain in the engagement letter as to what is the scope, what you are means, what is the type of audit. It's internal audit. Then which are the locations which you will be visiting. So many things you have to write there. That the number of persons deployed on that. There are many other things which are scaring. In fact, it says standard on audit says that every audit we should obtain a declaration from all the audit team members that they have no conflict of interest with this particular client. अभी हमारे पास किसी क्लाइंट का भतीजा भांजा हमारे आर्टिकल करता है, and we are not bothered, we just send him for that audit also. So actually you should take a declaration that he is not having any conflict of interest with the client. So these are the things which are made mandatory. Last time when I spoke after that, fortunately there was a lecture on standard on audit. But actually on that there should be a workshop. That cannot be a matter of, just a lecture. That standards on audit at practical level that we have to follow, implement and explain the gravity, because now everywhere the fine is 1 lakh, 5 lakhs. And this brings me to another amendment in the CA Act, in the disciplinary mechanism. Earlier, disciplinary committee, I'll deal with the procedural aspect very briefly for you to understand certain things better. So, this disciplinary mechanism, in the disciplinary committee, previously there used to be 3 members from the council, central council, and 2 from the government nominees. Now that combination is being changed. 3 will be for the government nominees and 2 only. And unfortunately, the certain government nominees I have come across, and it was a universal feeling. They were so dominating. They were so dominating that they used to not even allow the regular central council members to speak. And they were seniors. They were seniors in the profession also. एंड जैसे पहले ब्रिटिश जमाने में था ना कि उनको प्रमोशन चाहिए, उनको ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट का रिस्पेक्ट चाहिए, इसलिए दे यूज्ड टू गिव मोर हार्श पनिशमेंट्स टू द इंडियन पैट्रियट्स एंड इंडियन पीपल, लाइक लोकमान्य तिलक के बारे में हुआ था वो, बिकॉज ही वांटेड द प्रमोशन. So there are certain people in the disciplinary committee who wanted to get promoted to NAFRA or the higher level. That is why they were more harsh on our chartered accountants. And our central council members were helpless. They were not at all comfortable with that, because he was not allowing them to speak and he was dominating each and every. Not he. There are many like this. So government nominee, and now the president is also a government nominee. Fortunately, this has not been implemented as yet. But now you can imagine that if out of 5, 3 are government nominees, of which the presiding officer also will be a government nominee, then हमारे लिए क्या रोल रहा है? And they raise, I should not use that word, but childish questions. Childish, because they are not having any concept of our audit profession. उनको बोर्ड मीटिंग एंड एजीएम का भी फर्क नहीं समझता है. दिस इज द सिचुएशन आई हैव कम अक्रॉस इन द डिसिप्लिनरी कमिटी. गवर्नमेंट नॉमिनी को बोर्ड मीटिंग और एजीएम का भी फर्क नहीं समझता है. देन आवर पीपल कीप ऑन एक्सप्लेनिंग देम, नहीं ऐसा नहीं है, बोर्ड मीटिंग में होना चाहिए. दिस इज द एंड द पेनल्टीज हैव बीन डबल्ड. Penalties have been doubled. So let me come back to DHFL. No, I am not talking too much of theory. I think I have already 50% of my time is already exhausted. So Then I ask these people, then they say, who are we? हम जो हमारे फिलोसॉफी में है ना क्वेश्चन को हम तो मैं स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर नहीं हूँ, मैं इंटरनल ऑडिटर नहीं हूँ, मैं स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर का आउटसोर्स्ड भी नहीं हूँ, तो मैं हूँ कौन? मूवी के लिए अच्छा है टाइटल है, मैं हूँ कौन? So then I asked them this question because it was that in your three, because they are also supposed to do the tax audit. So I asked them that in 3CA form, what you have mentioned as to who has done the statutory audit. They say we have mentioned like this, that the statutory audit under the Companies Act was done by us. That means this is a self-contradiction. Here you say that you are not the statutory auditors, and the other side you say that the statutory audit was conducted by us. See, this reconciling these two things was a very tough job. Then another thing NAFRA had done was that you will not be allowed to bring a legal counsel or any representative with you. You have to come alone and you have to face it. This was challenged in the writ. Now this is the basic right under the constitution. So now they are allowed. तो अभी इतना हुआ कि जो पहले हियरिंग हो गए थे, they said that time we had not allowed the counsel, so we'll take वापस हम hearing लेंगे if you want to bring a counsel. So this is the chaos in the system. There is no clarity anywhere. And the only sufferers are chartered accountants. Only sufferers are chartered accountants. एक बैंक ने 1000 crores का लोन कंपनी को दिया, and it was noticed, of course वो तो सब एनपीए तो नेक्स्ट डे ही हुआ, वो दिया था that day itself it was not a good loan or standard loan. And it's so frustrating, friends. 1000 crore का loan, it was a fraud basically. The chartered accountant is showing, सर मैंने जो बैलेंस शीट दिया है इसमें दोनों सब डायरेक्टर्स का सिग्नेचर है, आई हैव क्वालिफाइड इट, आई हैव डन सो मेनी एडवर्स रिमार्क्स इन दैट, एंड ये जो बैंक के लिए पास है इट इज नॉट दैट कॉपी, इट इज उसमें मास्किंग करके जेरोक्स निकल के अनसाइंड कॉपी दिया है बैंक को, 1000 करोड़ का लोन. आप बैंक में 2 लाख का लोन मांगने जाओ तो आपको एटलीस्ट 2000 पेपर्स दे विल आस्क फॉर. 1000 crores loan was given, and because of this, the poor chartered accountant is facing CPI authority, is facing UW, all that he's facing. And actually there was a firm proprietor senior, his son had signed, उसका बेचारे का वेडिंग था तभी उसको सीबीआई में बुलाया था. This is the plight of the profession. And finally ये सब गफला किया मैनेजमेंट ने किया, because they were hand in gloves, obviously, management and the bankers. But to save the skin of their own people, invariably, whenever any NPA becomes like any account slips, all these big banks have a standard practice of holding the chartered accountant responsible for this. So in this, what was the flaw? Perhaps they will be held punishable is that ये सब fraud हो रहा, गफला हुआ, that we are not bothered. ग्रुप कंपनी में ए कंपनी ने बी कंपनी को 40 crores ट्रांसफर किया, उसका रिजोल्यूशन नहीं किया, इसलिए चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट इज गिल्टी. इट्स सो इनसिग्निफिकेंट एंड सिली, बट वी हैव टू डू foolproof things. We are expected to be super gods, and that is the thing which is happening today. So this is case. Now there is one more case, whether these ethics are binding on us only when you are acting in the capacity as a professional, whether your presence is there only as a professional, as a CA, or anywhere and everywhere you go, these ethics are binding on you. That is the dilemma that came for decision in the High Court. And the High Court held that whatever you do, wherever you are, whenever you do anything, ethics are binding on you. So for example, if a chartered accountant misbehaves with a female, whether it is necessary to see that whether he did it in his office or in his client's office, or any CA conference, or anywhere he goes, he is attending some private function, he is traveling on a pleasure trip abroad, anywhere he goes, whether these ethics are binding on him, the court said yes. Whatever and where you do and wherever you are, ethics are binding on you. Why, friends? There is a logical justification for this. Because if anything such thing happens, how the press reports it? Chartered accountant held for bribery, chartered accountant held for involvement in the scam. What is focus is chartered accountant. But they dare not write so in respect of advocates. Immediately the advocates pull them in the court. What business you had to mention that he was an advocate? You just say Mr. So-and-so or a gentleman or so, whatever. But we don't have that courage. Our profession is not united. Our profession does not have that courage. And our leaders also may not have that courage. That they will not strongly stand behind you. Ki nahi, nahi, ye hamare iske. Many chartered accountants are put behind bars for petty reasons. And pura every
The problem is that advocates are treated as the member of the court also. This is the problem.
whatever
And
we
that position has not been given.
exactly, and we have not gained, we have not commanded that respect, we have not commanded that position. We have always been accommodative. We have always been submissive. Sometimes I don't know whether it's a correct forum, or, but see, it's a fact, is a fact. सत्य तो बोलना ही चाहिए. कल गांधी जयंती है. See, हमारे प्रोफेशन में ये स्ट्रेंथ ही नहीं है कि see, you recognize people is a very expert doctor, is an expert advocate. तो पूरी सोसाइटी में उसका रिस्पेक्ट है. At national level also he is respected. That he is like Palki Wala or like very senior doctor. ऐसा strength chartered accountancy profession में ही नहीं है. He is recognized by all people. What we recognize is only in the CA conference. ये एकदम बड़ा है, ये एक्सपर्ट चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट. बाहर जाएगा तो कोई भी पूछता नहीं है कि ये कितना बड़ा चाहे knowledgeable chartered accountant whatever. So ये inherent limitation of the profession है. Why? Because we have never audit ये कभी seriously लिया ही नहीं किसी ने. Right from the inception of our profession, audit जो अपना core function है. Now people take pride. मैं audit नहीं करता, it is below my dignity. ऐसा उनको बोलते हैं. मैं ऑडिट नहीं करता, मैं कंसल्टेंसी करता हूँ, मैं टैक्स एक्सपर्ट हूँ, मैं फेमा एक्सपर्ट हूँ, मैं फाइनेंस एक्सपर्ट हूँ. बट मैं ऑडिट एक्सपर्ट हूँ ऐसा कोई प्राउडली बोलेगा नहीं, क्योंकि ऑडिट इज एसेंशियली कॉम्प्रोमाइज. यू हैव टू सेव योर स्किन. उसके लिए जो कुछ करना पड़ता है, योर इंटेलिजेंस इज एक्चुअली यूटिलाइज फॉर दैट. Your intelligence, see, there is a logic why the government also treats us like this, or the banks also. Remember, and again I say, this is an introspection. आज तक इतने scandals हुए हैं, उसमें there is not a single instance that the scam was exposed by the auditor in his audit. ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ. Why? Now people will argue fraud detection is not our job वगैरह. अरे but what is obvious? There are standards on auditing. We don't actually realize the practical aspects of them. There was a company with 600 crore turnover. This instance also I have shared many times. 600 crore turnover. Audit एकदम perfect audit है. Corporate office in Mumbai. They are having some mines in Orissa. And it became bad. There was 100 crore rupees term loan from a PSU bank. And when it became sick, first complaint is against the auditor. So that firm of auditors came to me, ऐसा complaint आया. So I said, another thing, working papers. Professional skepticism is only the principle which we only read and write, but we never apply that principle. See, there are big corporates, 2000 crore turnover, 5000 crore turnover. उनको stock certificate चाहिए. So they approach some roadside chartered accountant in Borivali or Dahisar, and the stocks are 400 crore rupees, and they want a certificate from a small chartered accountant. And the chartered accountant, he says, अरे 3 दिन में ऐसा करूंगा तो मुझे 50,000 फीस मिल जाएगा. एंड इतना बड़ा कॉर्पोरेट है तो सब ठीक रहेगा, उनके बड़े ऑडिटर्स है, बिग 4 इज द ऑडिटर वगैरह. सो दीज आर द इंप्रेशन दैट वी हैव, एंड हम स्टॉक सर्टिफिकेट दे देते हैं. ऐसे केसेस आए हैं मेरे पास, इसलिए आई एम शेयरिंग दिस. देयर इज नो वर्किंग पेपर. दीज डजंट हैव द टीम. कितने लोकेशंस थे स्टॉक्स के, किधर भेजा अपने स्टाफ को या एम्प्लॉइज को, नो रिकॉर्ड व्हाटसोएवर. ही सेड दैट इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी टू कीप. 3 दिन का सर्टिफिकेट दे दिया. First professional skepticism is that इतना बड़ा कॉर्पोरेट मेरे पास क्यों आया, उनके पास इतना बड़ा टीम है तो मेरे पास क्यों आया. See, I happen to be in the management or the board of a small cooperative bank. If some big corporate comes to us for borrowing, the first question we ask is, हम अपने पास क्यों आया. So this is professional skepticism. ये हमारे दिमाग में आता ही नहीं है ना कभी. That is the trouble. So I was sharing with that 600 crore turnover company. They had maintained excellent working papers. It was a learning for me. I congratulated them कि यार इतना कड़ा मेरे को भी ये सीखने को मिला, अच्छा वर्किंग पेपर है. They sent. I was very happy कि इनका केस अभी मिट जाएगा. Afterwards they came after 1.5 years and they said there are only 2 points which the institute has now asked disciplinary committee. Said, what are those points? They said, firstly, they have asked, had you written confirmation of balances to the bankers? What is the position? They said, नहीं, हमने लिखा नहीं था, but बैंक स्टेटमेंट्स के फोटोकॉपीज ही हमारे पास है. I said, excellent, अच्छा वो भेज देंगे. Secondly, had you written to the debtors and creditors for the confirmation of balance? This is another drawback in our profession. Third party evidence, we hardly anybody of us would be insisting on third party evidence. And उसे टाइम ही नहीं मिलता है. ऐसे अपने से एक्सक्यूजेस बहुत है, मैनेजमेंट सुनता ही नहीं है अपना. But then you are failing in your duty. So what happens is, in this case, they told me, now it's a CBI matter, and they said even the bank statements were fabricated. And if they had written, see, what is professional skepticism again? If suddenly the company's turnover is increasing, company's profitability is increasing, suddenly, then you should be skeptical. अरे ये कैसा हुआ? तो obviously उनको कोई IPO लाना है, कोई बड़ा लोन लेना है, फॉरेन करेंसी लोन लेना है या बैंक से लोन लेना है, ऐसा. Then there are circular transactions within the group, and they are inflating the turnover, they are inflating the profit. This is professional skepticism that we never apply, and that is why we come in trouble. Now there are cases of these political trust donations. Those are also coming. So these are the practical things which are happening. So one was this. So the court said that yes, anywhere and everywhere you are going, ethics are binding on you, because the publicity, bad publicity is there for the profession. So court is right in a sense, and we have nothing to counter that. So this is one. Another interesting case I will share with you. Very intelligently argued case. Those who know, please don't answer, but I'll just put the facts before you. That there was a big corporate, and this is a very old case, of course. And in their income tax assessment, there was an addition of some 20 crore rupees. And so they wanted to file an appeal. They approached a chartered accountant. It was somewhere in the north that time. They approached him. He said, I will charge 5% of the total addition made, 5% or 2%, whatever. Now they agreed. Afterward, they attended the appeal. There was some relief and all. They raised an invoice of such and such percentage and all. The company refused to pay. They say this is unethical. That means our own ethics is being used against us. He said, you cannot charge like this. What is your comment on this? What is your reaction? Means whether they are right, they are right. Fortunately, friends, and unfortunately for the company, there was some very brilliant lawyer, or perhaps the chartered accountant firm itself had some brilliant partner. He objected to this. He said, no, we have not committed anything unethical, because what the law says is that it should not be linked with your result of your work, the success. There cannot be a success fee. What we are charging is total addition, 20 crores. Okay. And they were justified in saying that, see, 20 crores may be consisting of 4 or 5 items, and they have to prepare themselves for each and every addition. In some addition may be totally dropped, some addition there will be partial relief. So my effort is with reference to the entire 20 crores. I am not charging on whatever deletion you have got. I am not charging on whatever relief you have got. That is the success. That is unethical. He very brilliantly argued, and the court accepted this, because they said, yes, we are charging not on the success of our work, but it is the total volume which you have already indicated. The total addition is 20 crores, so my fee will be, because I have to work for all 20 crores. No? So that is why I said we have to apply our mind and this thing very minutely. That is why we need to read all those aspects. We have to keep it moving. So now capture. So these working papers, this particular thing, had they returned to the debtors and creditors, or had they returned to the bank? There are frauds happening now, many frauds happening, because people are not investments. Some certain things which are very commonly happening, I am just sharing with you. That is stock statement. And when actually I certified the stock of 400 crore, and actually the stock was only 35 crores. 8 or 9 such cases were reported in recent years. Key working papers were not maintained at all for stock verification, and because the professional skepticism was lacking, and there are no working papers. Now this company, this firm kept excellent working papers, but certain things they missed out. And they said, and perhaps the disciplinary committee or the government is right, that they say standard on auditing is there. This third party evidence is given utmost importance. Utmost importance. But we never apply, we never implement that third party evidence principle. Because we always start our audit at 11th hour. So time ही नहीं है. Actually, in the month of May or June is the time where we should initiate these processes and write to the debtors and creditors. But the client will not permit you. Because उनके accounts ही finalize नहीं है, तो how will you do it? So these are all practical aspects, but these cases are arising. So debtors, creditors confirmation, and the bankers. There was a charitable trust formed by 3 leading hospitals of Mumbai. You should not be too good or too generous. But Chanakya had said कि you should not be very straight person. थोड़ा टेढ़ा होना चाहिए. Because he says जो पेड़ straight है वो पहले काटा जाता है. So what did the internal auditor, right from the inception of the trust, a firm was doing internal audit and another firm was doing statutory audit. And it was very smoothly going on. There was a sub-staff in that hospital. His son was doing BCom. He was quite bright. So the internal audit firm, they gave him good training, कैसे accounts लिखने का और everything. Basically, that firm, nice people were there. Of course, honest people of integrity were there. And then they trained him, and he and another friend of his, they were appointed in as accountant and accounts clerk or whatever in that trust. There were only 6 or 7 employees. First 10 years, they did a very good job. And last 10 years, they took advantage of the trust and confidence which they enjoyed, and they committed a fraud of 6 crore rupees. It is there in the public domain, it is there in the news. What they did, they floated some dummy companies and they took bogus purchase or expense bills, and it was routed through that, and then this is how they siphoned off the money. Unfortunate part was that out of 2 such dummy firms, out of 6, 2 dummy firms, income tax returns also they got uploaded from that internal auditor's office. So the suspicion was that internal auditor firm was hand in gloves with them. See, you are doing in good faith, you are doing with good intentions. But what happened was, and this is the 6th or 7th case where excessive trust on an employee has caused damage to the auditor. There are another thing, a senior trustee who is a treasurer, and the modus operandi of all this is that in the hospital, that's this employee or secretary, all the doctors are very big doctors, they are surgeons. These people have a practice कि जो कोई check है या whatever, ऐसे कोई doctor is now going to the operation theater, sir, ये जरा थोड़ा signature अपने को, we have to break that FD, because we have to buy that machine. Doctor is not bothered of these things. So he says, okay, 20 years so that employee is there. He just puts his signature. They get it encashed. Credit comes in the bank. They pass on exact amount to their account so that it is a contra entry and the balance is correct. And invariably, in last month's this thing, you will say they will always produce only the photocopy of the bank statements. Professional skepticism lies in asking why photocopy? Why not original? Do we ask this? Secondly, we never verify the actual physical investments, original investments. We go on good faith. होगा बैंक, they will say, so sir, बैंक में ही रखा है. We never insist, नहीं मुझे बताओ. Because that spirit or that attitude of insisting on something is not there. We just accept whatever he says at face value. And we say he's a trusted. There is a club in Andheri only. The club there were 27-year that employee was there, was the manager. And see how sometimes the frauds, how they get exposed is very interesting to learn. The club's hall was there. For the booking of the hall, for members, for example, it was only 10,000, and for outsiders it is 20,000. What he used to do was, when 20,000, at that time it was many times when we book a hall or something, that time so it was very standard practice, routine practice to pay it in cash. So they used to give cash 20,000 outsider. That manager used to show it as if it is from a member. And वो secretary का उसका signature लेता था. Secretary is not bothered with 400 members are there, उसमें से होगा कोई. Everything was smoothly going on. 10,000 was going to the pocket of that accountant. But when Corona came, hall booking was cancelled, and they said that you will get your refund. In that process, he was exposed, because when 10,000 was refunded, people started shouting, "Arey, हमने 20,000 दिया था." So this is the destiny, friends, of that. And then, but who is the scapegoat? The scapegoat is the auditor. because he never verified the application forms and we never verified whether he was a member or not. So to what extent your responsibility extends is unimaginable. कुछ भी होने दो दुनिया में auditor is responsible. Fortunately, in one company, the managing director himself was a chartered accountant. And when people said, auditor ने क्या किया? See, any scam happens ना, first question public also asks, audit क्या कर रहा था? So that managing director was strong enough. He was actually loyal to our profession. He says, अरे auditor 365 में से सिर्फ 15 दिन इधर आता है. आप 365 दिन इधर है. आपने क्या किया? वो बताओ ऑडिटर ने क्या किया? इज अ सेकेंडरी थिंग. लेकिन ऐसा करेज हमारे प्रोफेशन में नहीं है ना, बाय एंड लार्ज. दैट इज व्हाई वी आर सफरिंग एंड वी आर गोइंग टू रिमेन लाइक दैट ओनली, बिकॉज मैं इतना कितना भी लेक्चर दूं या कुछ भी करूं, नथिंग इज गोइंग टू इम्प्रूव. आई एम ऑल्सो, दिस इज माई स्केप्टिसिज्म कि ऐसा ही रहने वाला है प्रोफेशन. एंड व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू हैव प्राइड इज इन बड़ा कॉन्फ्रेंस किया, बड़ा ये किया. What we are doing to increase the inherent strength of the profession. So this is the एक आई कोई lady client. These are all the cases which nothing is coming from the imagination. I am just sharing with you. Just to save time, I am sharing in a very cursory manner. एक आई lady or that he had some friction with the chartered accountant because she had some selfish interests. Because he had refused to sign a balance sheet which she had produced of her friend. So what she did, when that chartered accountant was outside his cabin, his mobile was lying there. So from that mobile, and he was so familiar that she knew the unlocking virus of uska. He is very straight and simple, that chartered accountant. She sent very dirty and obscene SMS to herself on his mobile. इसलिए मैं लेक्चर को आता हूँ और मेरा मोबाइल उधर है, कन्वीनर्स उधर बैठे तो भी मेरा ध्यान रखेगा. Fortunately, the conveners are here in the auditorium and not there. Jokes apart, but friends, this poor fellow, इनका उसने फोटो लिया, पुलिस में गई. And this is a very, very straight, pious, and very simple chartered, unassuming people. The poor chartered accountant was behind bars for 5 days. Now he is on bail. And there are many such instances where he is made a scapegoat and he is imprisoned. And we, as a profession, we don't do anything for that. Our elected representatives don't do anything for that. This is the plight of the profession. We don't have any collective strength. थोड़ा कुछ होने दो, रिक्शा वाला, एक रिक्शा वाला ने नहीं कहा तो 10 रिक्शा वाला will never say yes for going somewhere. But उसने नहीं ऑडिट किया, यार मैं करता हूँ. Now, question is how are we going to improve and coming out from this particular, and ours is the most, and then there is no end to the learning aspect, no? So there is no end, every time something new comes. Now there was a case where the High Court had held, in one case, a good decision that an error is not necessarily misconduct. Even a blunder is not a misconduct. Even a small negligence is not a misconduct. They said what is required is gross negligence. And gross negligence means there should be an element of dishonesty or ill motive. Now, if you make this argument, the disciplinary committee says, and rightly so, they say, अगर ऐसा है तो कोई आपका दोस्त आएगा and he will say, अरे मेरा ये बैलेंस शीट कर, I am applying for a loan, and you know that he is an honest person, he is a straight person, he will not do any hanky-panky, but he is not an accounts person, he doesn't know what is there, and in good faith you sign. So you will argue that मेरा कोई ill motive नहीं था, मेरा कोई dishonest intention नहीं था, but the fact that without verifying you signed, this itself is a dishonesty. This we don't realize. मेरा सिग्नेचर है, इट शुड बी लाइक ए हॉलमार्क, ये मेरा सिग्नेचर है, दैट मीन्स आफ्टर ड्यू एग्जामिनेशन ओनली आई हैव साइंड दिस फेथ वी हैव फेल्ड टू क्रिएट इन द सोसाइटी एंड पीपल आर टेकिंग एडवांटेज ऑफ दैट. सो दे से अगर ऐसा होगा, एंड इन सत्यम व्हाट हैपेंड, सेम, इतना बड़ा कॉर्पोरेट इंटरनेशनल अवार्ड, गोल्डन पीकॉक अवार्ड फॉर गवर्नेंस, ये सब अवार्ड वगैरह ना सब बकवास रहते हैं, सब बकवास रहते हैं. एंड देन वी आर्ग्यूड, पीपल आर्ग्यूड, अरे इतना बड़ा कॉर्पोरेट है, वो एफडी का हमें रिसीट बता रहा है 10,000 करोड़ का, शुड वी नॉट बिलीव? तो देन फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर दैट टाइम राइटली सेड, अगर ऐसा है एंड इफ 10,000 करोड़ के एफडी, अगर वी आर नॉट cannot rely on the auditor's certificate, then why is audit required at all? We just will remove the provision under the Companies Act कि audit is not required. क्योंकि सब गुड फेथ में ही आप कर रहे हैं ना, गुड फेथ नहीं चाहिए, वो देखने के लिए आपको प्रोफेशन ये दिया है ना, but that you are not doing, you are failing in your duty. See friends, if we act diligently, many frauds would have been easily avoided. And in that 600 crore turnover company, there was not even 600 rupees genuine turnover. Everything was fabricated, including bank statements. And here there was some 50-60 staff in the corporate office. The only job was fabricating the documents, including government orders, bank statements, everything was fabricated. Professionals kept it. Had they returned to the bank and had they returned to the debtors, creditors, this thing would have been easy. So the third party evidence, the importance of that we should ourselves realize and understand, then only we will act on that. And you are inviting trouble for yourself if you are shirking in that duty. आज नहीं तो कल, because of this somebody will be exposed. And that time you keep on running कि अरे ये impossible है, management was not allowing me to write. In our Karo and Mao Karo, we always write these things. All the debt balances of debtors, creditors, lenders, etc. are subject to their confirmation. ऐसा ही लिखते हैं year after year. Last 30 years वही लिखते हैं. But 30 years में कभी भी verification का attempt ही नहीं किया है. Then how will they confirm? Had you written to them for confirmation, then you can say that they are not subject to confirmation. Then you should be able to qualify the report. That courage we don't have. There was a trust. Warning bell देना मुझे. 15 minutes. So there was a big trust in the south, and all the people in the management, in the governing body, were very highly placed people in the society, like very reputed persons, big industrialists, big retired government officers, commissioners, retired vice chancellors. ऐसे सब on the school. It was an educational institution. Total collection was 8 crores in the year 1998, and it was multi-locational body. Many colleges, many these things were there, schools. They had 16 bank accounts. The auditor, he had just left his job after 4 years job, and he was 32. He was the auditor. What happened was 5 bank accounts, bank statements were not available. So I don't know whether he asked, but he must have asked. Management said those are all inoperative accounts. At the most, there would be internal transfers, because otherwise, these institutions many times have to open some temporary account somewhere. Like किसी project है, किसी grant है government की, they say we will give you only in this bank only, so you have to open the account there. For temporary purpose, you have to open such accounts, and after that purpose is over, it is not operative. But you don't close them. That is also laziness. Yeah. So here the fraud also was not there. Just let me complete that story. So this chartered accountant accepted that explanation. MRL. Now MRL also, we are not very particular in making a meaningful MRL. We just write standard things in the MRL. But a particular query which was raised by you, to that he is answering like this. That way, as a thoughtful MRL is not there. In fact, actually, study circles should organize workshops or lectures on these topics. But these we know only theory. MRL should be obtained, engagement letter should be given. The format, the draft is given in the standards. But who is going to read it? Nobody has read. But if we can do, this will be a real service to the profession. That MRL ऐसे कुछ भी कोई भी बनाता है, हमारा आर्टिकल ही बनाता है, लास्ट ईयर ये था, वो भी इट्स ईयर आफ्टर ईयर सेम MRL. कट पेस्ट भी है, मेरे पास ऐसे इंस्टेंसेस है कि बड़े कॉर्पोरेट का एक कट पेस्ट है, उसका नाम भी उसमें डाला. So suppose they have adopted it from L&T's audit, तो मैं किसी फालतू कंपनी का ऑडिट करता हूँ, उसमें भी मेरे रिमार्क में L&T का नाम आ गया है. This is the extreme of, you should as far as possible never ever delegate the drafting work to a junior person who doesn't understand things. But there was a lawyer and the standard cut paste, computer is a very dangerous thing in this particular respect. So you said, there was an affidavit. I so and so partner of so and others. तो उसके आर्टिकल ने या उसके जूनियर ने I so and so wife of so and others ऐसा ही लिखा उसने. Partnership deed. There was a group of earlier partnership deed was very common. Multiple partnerships in the group में होते थे. So that chartered accountant स्टैंडर्ड उसके डीड में आर्बिट्रेटर का किसी का एक रिस्पेक्टेबल पर्सन का नाम लिखा था. Now, when we prepared partnership deed, clients never reads it, so they just sign. इधर करने का सिग्नेचर इधर किया, वाइफ का भी सिग्नेचर खुद ही करते हैं वो, and we allow them. We are the witnesses to that crime. And बाद में अगर उनमें कुछ झगड़ा होता है तो वाइफ will disown and such cases have come. ऐसे मैंने कभी भी सिग्नेचर नहीं किया किसी की डॉक्यूमेंट पे. एंड व्हेन ये झगड़ा डिवोर्स वगैरह की आर वेरी कॉमन नाउ. So don't take anything for granted. Rather take it for granted that this is going to happen. Not divorces, but अरे A is a chartered accountant, B is an engineer. Both are doing good business of manufacturing, private limited company. 25 years of friendship. Now B's son, B is an engineer, his son wanted to do his CA. So Uncle A is there. Uncle A ने COP just ऐसे ही रखा था just for sentimental reason. But you are not actually effectively practicing. B's son did the articles under Uncle A. उसके भी past is CA, he joined some corporate. उसके बाद 5-6 साल के बाद A and B में बड़ा झगड़ा हुआ. CLB, criminal law, taxation, everywhere complaints against each other. To add fuel to that, B's son filed a complaint against our own boss, his own boss, saying that he was practicing and still he was working as an executive director of the company. खुद के प्रिंसिपल के अगेंस्ट ऐसा कंप्लेंट किया. सो यू नेवर नो व्हाट विल हैपन व्हेन. एक रात की आपकी नींद तो हराम हो जाएगी. दैट इज द सक्सेस. सो देन दैट व्हाट वाज द केस आई वाज डिस्कसिंग. Trust का education. Good that all of you are awake. So that educational trust, he did it. He did not. He accepted the MRL. I graduated to MRL. So 2 hours is too short, madam. So MRL ये सब हो गया. Next year, those bank account statements was traced, and there was a just net effect because trust can have saving account. On that, some interest was given, and on that is 15,000 tax effect was there. So what that next year chartered accountant auditor did, used another auditor. Opening funds, trust fund, add adjustment of the previous year, 15,000. trust fund was 6 crore rupees, 15,000 का addition. वो भी, but this on this income tax was smoothly done. Scrutiny was there, no issues on that. Next year also he did, no issues on that, very plain and smooth. But the commissioner, or at that time director of income exemption, he was a very kadus person. And he had special nafrat against chartered accountants. On one single day, he filed complaints, 11 complaints against various chartered accountants. Now here what he did, that time ATG was to be renewed, like now. In between there was a phase where ATG was not renewed. He says renewal ke liye, he asked his assistant to verify the accounts. He says, ask him what is this adjustment of 15,000. He said plainly, this is the story. Now in the normal course, nobody would have taken it seriously. But he says that means there were no bank statements, so there were no bank reconciliation, and still you have given a clean report. So it's a misconduct. He filed a complaints against both the chartered accountants, both were held guilty, and both were they lost their certificate suspension for 3 months. See how insignificant a proprietor chartered accountant has blind faith in his 4 friends who are having the partnership firm of chartered accountants, and the tax audit हम आपस में जो करते हैं तो हम बगैर देख के ही करते हैं. अगर 4 ये जो उन्होंने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स के इस फॉर्म में 3 crores was the total collection in the year 2005. And मैंने that proprietor in good faith signed the balance sheet. In the income tax assessment at that time, in the whole cash book, there was a cash negative of 432 rupees on one particular day. टेक्नोलॉजी में टैली में इमीडिएटली एक्सपोज हो जाता था, बट देखा ही नहीं ना, देखा ही नहीं. बैलेंस शीट आया, मस्ट बी 29 सितंबर को रात को आया होगा, दोस्त मेरा दोस्त ही है सब, आया मैंने सिग्नेचर ठोक दिया. This is what is happening, friends, and these cases are coming up. So anything you are doing, please be very, very cautious, be on your guard कि don't fall prey to this. कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी का काम कभी भी नहीं करना चाहिए, हाउसिंग सोसाइटी का काम कभी भी नहीं करना चाहिए, बिकॉज हर एक सोसाइटी में एक नास्टी मेंबर रहता है, उसका बिजनेस ही ये है कि सबको परेशान करना, मैनेजिंग कमेटी को हैरेस करना. He will file all sorts of complaints to the registrar, deputy registrar, a maintenance charges, and he is himself a defaulter invariably. Never ever do, if you can afford to do that, never ever do cooperative housing societies audit unless you are very another set of cases. Typically, in these non-profit organizations, I have never kept it moving. I have to deal with some principles. That you are it is being shared with you, so don't worry. Cooperative societies, there was one society in which, in the non-profit organ, what invariably happens is those trustees, those societies, they request the auditor, normally chartered accountant, अरे हमारे कोई accountant नहीं है, we can't afford, आप ही दीजिए ना किसी को, हाँ नहीं तो आपको दीजिए किसी को. Now we suggest our ex-article, our own article, or some known person, our ex-employee, he does it. Now when it comes to billing, he says, sir, मैं अगर 10,000 लगाऊंगा तो मुझे नहीं देंगे, वो मुझे 5,000 में ही पटाएंगे, तो आप आपके बिल में ऐड करके मुझे दे दो. Unfortunately, friends, senior chartered accountants have seen raising the invoice, accounting and auditing of your trust. This is very common. And even if they don't write, but still, वो जो खड़ूस member रहता है ना, he knows this कि अरे ये इसका ही आदमी, he files a complaint. Unfortunately, now whenever you are doing like this, you should obtain, because it is sharing the fees or the profits with a non-member. and you cannot, it's a conflict of interest that you are yourself writing, and you should obtain a proper invoice in your name and you should pass it on by check. If it is really an independent relationship, establish that it is an independent relationship. But of course, doing it in the invoicing itself is wrong. But I'm just, and I say, नहीं वो हमारा ही आदमी था, मैंने कैश में दे दिया उसको. Previous years or previous auditors' fees, undisputed audit fees, same situation happens. Because what is protected is the undisputed audit fees of the previous auditor. What is undisputed audit fees defined? That balance, the appearing outstanding audit fee appearing in the balance sheet which is signed by the auditee is the definition. Now, whenever such fees are unpaid, we ask the management, "Are fee diya kya uska?" Usually, such assignments come to us only when there are 3 days left for the final signing. So what we do is, management tells us, नहीं हमने कैश में दिया था उसको. In none of the chartered accountants office, there is a system of issuing receipts for the fees received. कोई issue करता है क्या receipt? What happens is, there is a catch there. Management shows you that देखो मैंने 30,000 का चेक दिया है, डेबिट भी हुआ है. That previous chartered accountant, what he does, हाँ 30,000 का चेक आया, what? But I have adjusted it against my professional other fees, advisory fees, not against audit fee. My audit fee is still pending. And you have no answer. So under Contract Act, you can argue that the first come first out, वगैरह वगैरह. See, these are all litigative matters. But cash में दिया है, but then there are ways and means for a chartered accountant to verify that is third party. So ask that chartered accountant whether you have really received. But we never have that kind of time factor because we always start late at the 11th hour. So इसके लिए सब time नहीं है, third party evidence. So I would strongly recommend that what the study circle can do is, अप्रैल में क्या करना चाहिए सभी मेंबर ने, मई में क्या ऑडिट के फ्रंट पर, and get it done, create some drafts of good letters. Only then it will be a real service to the profession. ये सब academics है ना, GST वगैरह तो चलते रहेगा. But yes, I'm again requesting you, everywhere I request, but nobody ever acts on that. That's a different thing. That is why I have to come every year to speak. अगर ये करेंगे तो मुझे बुलाएंगे नहीं फिर आप. Anyway, so in a way it is good that you are not acting on that. So now a few 5 minutes. Some principles are there which are very important. Firstly, over the years, these principles have evolved in the disciplinary mechanism. Disciplinary mechanism in 3 minutes, I'll just confirm that there is a complaint or there is an information case. Complaint is supposed to be filed with 2,500 fees. Our institute has jurisdiction only against an individual CA and not against the firm. But now they have added one very tricky thing. They say, yes, institute does not have jurisdiction over the firm. But suppose in a firm, one partner is held guilty for any particular reason. And if at all, within 5 years' time, another partner is also held guilty, or the same partner is held guilty, then the institute can punish the firm. They don't have jurisdiction to examine. They have the jurisdiction to punish the firm. This has been brought. See, everywhere, all these risks, they have put the burdens and threats they have put on the profession. So firstly, is that the complainant need not have any locus standi. He may be total stranger. उसका उस केस से क्या लेना देना है, you cannot argue that. Secondly, so as I said, anybody can complain. Secondly, the time barring, as I told you, is 7 years. But time barring is a loose time barring. You have to convince them that now producing the evidence is impossible. Then whether your work has really caused any damage to others is immaterial. Your work should be perfect in itself. You cannot say कि किसी का नुकसान नहीं हुआ. That is next principle. Then you cannot say कि ये because in law finally I got it settled. For example, you missed out on say section 50C. Many people are under an impression that ये सब है वो audit के लिए और मैं audit करता ही नहीं हूँ, तो they are happy. नहीं, advisory function में भी all these disciplinary things are there. And that is why working papers are required even for advisory function. Many people, client आपको काम पे लगाता है. They say, ये सर मेरा एक प्रॉपर्टी बेचने का है, उसका कैपिटल गेन का क्या implications होगा, just tell me. And then you sit and you get so many case law, ये वो सब करके आप देंगे. बाद में client fully will say, मैंने वो idea drop किया. Get every query in writing. That is the working paper for the advisory function. And whatever questions you had raised, let it be in writing. अगर हम orally सब करते हैं ना, this is very dangerous and ऐसे ही लोग आते हैं. So this also in cooperative society, they say the complaint was there. The society had sold some FSI which had paid them some large amount. Members who had some grudge against the managing committee. Now the easiest, softest target is the auditor. What they did? According to us, this particular FSI proceeds are taxable. So we will go to the income tax department, ask them to issue 148 notice. We will pay tax, interest, penalty, and we will recover it from this auditor. Why are you filing a complaint? We are honest citizens of India. ऐसे लोग होते हैं. And that is why then I asked that lady, what is your working paper with you? She said, how I am concerned? I am only an auditor, I am not tax consultant. Again, there is a standard on auditing that if at all there is something, certain laws which you are supposed to have knowledge. And if you are yourself an expert, there should be a working note. There should be a note in your audit report कि because of this I am treating. Because if some large transaction is there and there is nothing of that means having a bearing on the finances, and you are just ignoring that, then it cannot be, it's not a diligence. So another thing is, last point, and then I'll conclude with a case which distinguishes the pure legalistic aspect and the ethics. Next point, which is very commonly happening, is these credit cooperative societies, where usually they are run by political people, and our people at the chartered accountants at the district places, they have done the audit excellently. 4-page annexure attached to the audit report, showing out, pointing out many discrepancies, serious discrepancies. Good audit. Now, since they are doing that, they are exposing the management, they don't receive the fees. Firstly. Secondly, this after that Anna Hazare movement, there were 400 cases filed by the registrar against these cooperative credit societies auditors. Now they say we have done the audit so diligently. देखिए हमने annexure audit के कितने लिखे. Institute says we are not concerned with that. What is your final opinion that you have given? It says subject to this, it is true and fair view. How dare you say that it is showing true and fair view when if the effect is given to your own 1 crore rupees, whereas they are showing a profit of 1 crore rupees. So knowingly you are certifying something which is not true. And therefore that SA 700 and 705, this it says that you should either qualify, but we are afraid of qualifying. You should qualify or you should make a disclaimer that it is so bad the record that we are not able to express our opinion. Same thing happens with these IRPs, these NCIT cases. No, that person, he asks you to certify the balance sheet, and usually on these sick companies are there, inoperative companies. Last 5 years, इधर कोई staff नहीं गया, and you don't get any record. You should always refrain from certifying those balance sheets. Never ever certify those unless you are sure of what you are doing. Otherwise, you make a disclaimer. There is no record, there is no staff, there is nothing available, and we are unable to express our opinion. These are the practical cases which I have tried to do justice to the topic. Now the last case. What is the distinction exactly? Because we say हमने strong advice दिया, 50C हमने देखा ही नहीं, section 56 के implications ही नहीं देखे, and we gave the advice. In that transaction, finally tax, interest, penalty means it was inflicted on that SSE. Now in that, we go in appeal and we get that thing deleted. Maybe technical reason may be delete हो सकता है penalty. Institute says बाद में law में क्या हुआ, we are not concerned. You missed out section 50C. You missed out. There are decisions कि उसमें penalty 270 और 1C नहीं लगाने का से था. और कर विवाद समाधान आया है पानी don't worry. कर विवाद समाधान आया. So because of that penalty got dropped. You cannot argue कि penalty लगा ही नहीं है ना, तो I should be absolved, I should be exonerated from this charge of misconduct. They say no. वो law में क्या हुआ, we are not concerned. And I am coming to the last case of this. Not elaborately discussing the facts. One cousin, chartered accountant, issued a check to another cousin. That cousin was a vagabond, not a person of good character. That cousin and that the whole family was involved in the or engaged in the business film line. So that cousin had said, मैं film बना रहा हूँ. Actually, he was a pauper. He was a vagabond totally. He was not doing anything. You give me a check of the total budget is 5 crores. You give me a check of 50 lakhs. I raise the 90% from the market. उसने 50 lakhs का check good faith में दे दिया. That person moved around everywhere from pillar to post. उसको एक penny also he could not raise from the market. So what he did was he was a mischievous person. When the expiry was there of that check, he deposited the check, got it bounced, and filed a 138 complaint against the cousin chartered accountant. Now आप सोचेंगे इतना अच्छा मैंने, it's a laudable thing कि मैंने मेरे cousin को help किया था. And in our country, you can manage everything. So the magistrate, everything was managed, and he was imprisoned, 6 months imprisoned, convicted. It went to the institute. देखिए आप गुड फेथ में करते हैं, किसी को हेल्प करने के लिए करते हैं, उसका क्या नतीजा होता है, I am just explaining to you. And then what happened was, of course he fought it in the High Court. Perhaps he will be acquitted also on the facts and circumstances, because magistrate asked कि इतना चेक उसने क्यों दिया था आपको. He said कि I was actually doing my business, but that chartered accountant told me कि मेरे पास, you join me, I'll pay you so much of salary, 2 lakhs rupees per month. And last 2-3 years he has never paid me. Although I was a cousin, he never paid. So he 2 साल का सैलरी उसने लमसम दिया. That is ये चेक है. ऐसा ही argued in the magistrate. चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट आर्ग्यूड, अरे मेरे पास जो हाईएस्ट पेड एम्प्लॉय चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है उसको मैं 35,000 देता हूँ, तो इसको 2 लाख कहाँ से दूं? But that did not click in the High Court, in the court. But High Court will acquit. Now, what is unethical about it? Unethical, there are 2 aspects which are unethical. One is he issued a check when he did not have the balance. And secondly, he was sure that this check was not going to be deposited. But it would have misled some other people that a chartered accountant has issued a check. So there is no risk if I give him 5 lakh rupees. If he has given 50 lakhs, I can give 5 lakhs, no risk. This is unethical. So you have to have a demarcation, which what is legally valid or true does not necessarily mean that it is ethical. Ethics is a totally different concept. I think I have exceeded the time because we started also late.
But I have one question.
Ask simple question.
Sir, it's a normal practice, we are sending our client return from our office. And we are using our laptop and our computer to upload the returns. So, we plan when we assess the research. I think it's not the content of the return because sometimes we allocate.
No, for that, there should be proper document. In fact, there's another aspect where your study circle should organize Information Technology Act. Because we also use the DSCs, so many things. But then there should be a proper documentation of this as correct. No, then he should, that is why I said you should take first obtain certificate from him that I accept this position of this my income and you have prepared it on the facts which I have shared with you only.
But I can say I'm not doing it.
Ah, then that type of correspondence should be there. He should confirm. He should confirm. That is why I always insist. मेरे office में था जब कि wherever it is feasible, just like our corporate, भले private limited हो, wherever it is feasible, get it uploaded from their computer. I agree with you that it's a problem. But these individuals, sometimes you can't help.
Yeah.
That is why you have to have a very solid type of documentation or correspondence saying that I am just using your computer for uploading my return. You have to play very safe in that.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. This is a good question. But information technology, we are lacking. Thank you very much.
Sir,
Because Purvi,
in this case, if you obtain signature of the client, all the draft documents, that will help us.
हाँ, but then sometimes what they say, हमको क्या समझता है, उन्होंने बनाया मैंने किया.
So the detail is on.
Yes. Correct. But if you can make a little stronger evidence, but I have a standard draft, no? But this is the time when you have some peaceful time, prepare a standard draft and you should obtain signature invariably on all the tax clients. Yes, your point is very valid. I am not denying that. But then they have to apply your common sense and prepare or rather create safeguards against that. But yes, वो last moment में कभी होता नहीं है ये. So this is the time when you should prepare ourselves for that. Thank you very much, and I am sorry that I did not keep it moving, but because all of you were awake. Thanks.
Thank you, sir, for this very wonderful eye-opening session. Before we propose the formal vote of thanks, I would just like to mention that the president of ICI, C. Talati ji, he is consented to be to visit our study circle on the next Sunday, next meeting. So I request you all to please come and attend, and also request you all to come in formal attire if possible. And also, it would be great if there's a large gathering. So you can also tell your friends and others who are willing to come that they should come that day. Now, before closing, we have a small lucky draw. It is a part of the 25th celebration for the study circle. After the vote of thanks, we have the lucky draw. Vijita ji. Thank you, Purvi. Friends, John F. Kennedy, the 35th US President, has said that as we express our gratitude, we must not forget that the highest form of appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Similarly, we must live by the ethics. So as Sir rightly said, ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. Right? So thank you so much, CACL Vaze, for taking us through the various aspects of the code of ethics, the effects of non-compliance, disciplinary actions,
He shared various examples of the implications of non-compliance and gave us valuable insights and practical aspects which he has gathered in his long and illustrious career. He has given us a wake-up call to us all, and we all should take heed of it. Friends, learning is a constant process, and I'm sure this 1st October morning, our members have learned quite a few new things and become aware of various aspects of code of ethics, guidelines, and implications of non-compliance, etc., where we can exercise our knowledge and create value for our profession. Thanks to all the members who have attended this session in large numbers and participated actively to make this session interesting and interactive, and of course the staff and management of Kohinoor for good arrangements. As a token of appreciation for the learning faculty, CA, and Vaze, I request you to please carry along round of applause. So we will be having a quick lucky draw and a short break of 15 minutes and assemble here for our second session. Thank you.
Friends. Our president is kindly consented to come on the next Sunday. We are keeping the next Sunday meeting on capital market. And that market. So please attend that meeting because the president is coming and good talk is there. And your friends to come in large number because we want a double gathering of it next time. And if attire is so whatever we can. So okay, we are having the 5 lucky draws. So 3 will be taken this time and 2 will be taken in the second session. Our second session speaker is already here. We welcome him. Our own. And a very good topic I think. Just explain in one second what is the topic we are covering.
Topic session is that the importance imported aspects in GST annual return and what is the relevance of GST annual return in departmental audit.
Very important looking at the time. So request Vaje sir to check out the 3 slips one by one. You will see and request those who have got to excuse if they can, so other can get. Handwriting is so nice, type करके दिया है. बोलेंगे बाद में सजन जी के टाइम पे कुणाल सर आप It's not here. Anybody may be like, please, friends. Nothing of great order. After I have one comment.
Time.